Hi, I'm Taylor Jade, Head of Social Media for SoBS, and I'm here with one of our volunteers, Kat. And we're just going to be going through a few questions about her role as a volunteer and also her personal story. So, Kat, if you just want to introduce yourself for us.
Hi, so I'm Kat. I'm the team leader for South London Lewisham branch of Survivors by Bereavement by Suicide.
So, first question I have for you, Kat, is how has being part of this community impacted your life, both personally and as your role as a volunteer?
Well, without sounding dramatic, it's completely changed my life because of my brother passed away 18 years ago, and it completely changed my life. Like I used to work in investment banking, and now I work in mental health. And I led a suicide prevention for staff at DePaul workshop on Tuesdays. So to say that it's completely changed my life is an understatement. And I think that anyone that has lost someone to suicide can relate to this. It's just, it almost was like a before and then an after. You're so impacted. Yeah, and for me, I just want to make my brother proud. If I do it all for him. So I set up Lewisham SoBS Group maybe 5-6 years ago now. And at this time I was studying psychotherapy, and I was also having EMDR for the trauma of losing my brother. So it all came about from a conversation with my therapist. Effectively, I blamed myself for my brother's death for about 13 years. And I just didn't want anyone else to feel like that. I ended up going on to write my dissertation about the self-blame, that sort of like that inverted anger that we all feel as survivors. It was a catchy title. It was self-blame in the aftermath of a sibling suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the group is incredible. My team, I adore. We've all become really good friends. We're all really close. And the group members, I'm just blown away by them every month. It truly is it's a very humbling thing to hold space. Yeah. So without sounding dramatic, it has completely changed my life. I now run workshops. Mind headhunted me and asked me to run the peer support groups for them in Lewisham. So there's the suicide bereavement service. Yeah, I'm now writing a book on horticultural. So I'm a horticultural therapist, so I'm writing a book on horticultural therapy for the treatment of complex and complicated grief. So yeah, it's no small thing. It's no small thing. So I hope that answers your question.
I love how you it's not that you make it sound like it's not a big deal. This is a massive deal in terms of just what you've accomplished and what you've done. And how
Yeah, and I do it all for my brother. Yeah, it's all for Ed.
That is incredible. Like, I thought you were going to stop. It was like, there's this, there's that, and the fact that you're writing a book as well, and you did your dissertation on that. That's incredible. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it really does. You know, it really did shape my life in a negative way for a long time. Like I couldn't get past the loss.
Yeah.
Because also my brother and I were put into foster care together as well. So there's like layers of being care experienced and like him being a big attachment figure for me, you know, my big brother. Yeah, and I think that my therapist suggested that actually she put it to me and she said, how would you feel if like someone blamed themselves for like an accidental like road accident, say for example? Like, how would you talk to that young woman, that 26-year-old? Because I was 26 when my brother died. He was 29, and I was in the house at the time, so we found him. And I wouldn't want that young girl to blame herself, but I couldn't blame him. So it just all went in. It was like it was some kind of form of control over an out of control situation, and there's lots of ways that people can do that. Like, yeah, I won't go into them, but it's fascinating. So all the research I did, and just, yeah, ultimately, I think I would have loved that kind of support when I was recently bereaved.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Please let us know when this book is out.
Yeah.
Because I would love to like have a read and even just to spread the word as well and to let our followers know as well. So this question is about memorable experiences. Can you share a particular memorable experience or success story from your time volunteering that has stayed with you?
Well, I mean, every month is just so incredible. Like the group is, we hold it really tight. Hannah and Emma, my teammates, like Hannah's just a complete whiz on all of the admin, and talking to people. She'd make an excellent psychotherapist as well, actually. And Emma's a midwife. I think you're scheduled to meet Emma. She's just so empathic. But what really, what surprisingly has been the thread that holds us all together is humour. So the groups are the groups can be quite light, and there can be lots of laughter. And I think well, personally for me, that's been my biggest medicine. It's the thing that's carried me through. Like I've got two older brothers, and our humour is quite dark, and it's referred to like as gallows humour. So surprisingly, the groups can be light. And there's a very famous saying by Carl Jung, what you did as a child to while away the hours, that's the key to your earthly pursuits. So I don't like the reference of self-care. I think that we've been shouting that at burnt out people for a very long time, and what we need now is community support. So I don't use that word. It's a bit of a dirty word to me. So I like to refer to it as like, how do you decompress? Like, so when my brother died, I watched Friends on a loop for about 2 years. Like, there's that comforting, familiar. So what everyone needs to do to get through. So I'm trying to encourage everybody to sort of like tap into like that childhood play. So what can you do to decompress? What can you do to fill up your cup? And I'm quite brutal, and I set homework, and I'm quite strict.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's really good because it gives people something to work towards. And also, because I know sitting down and having a chat is also helpful, or even just the homework of we can sit down and talk about it, but there's also ways that you can help yourself as well to get through it.
Yeah,
Your community. I love that. I think that's
it's absolutely true. I mean, we use lots of different techniques. We encourage people to bring pictures of their loved ones, and we reference them by name, so that and it really bonds the group, because it's not this sort of ethereal idea of someone that's no longer here. We really want to focus on the fact that they are still here with us. And it kind of plays back into the idea of like the Day of the Dead in Mexican culture, where your loved ones are still alive if you're still talking about them, if you still have photos and they're still remembered. There's like the land of the remembered and the land of the dead, I think. And there's like it weaves into like Buddhist culture, where you'll have an altar, and I really love that idea. So you'll have a picture, and like when you have a meal, like you'll share a bit of your meal with them, and you light some incense, especially like on their birthday or on their anniversary. And I also like the idea of honouring loved ones with something that you would do together. So my brother loved to cook. So when I cook with him, or we'd go walking, we'd walk a lot in the woods as kids. And so I'll go for a walk on my own, and I'll imagine like I'm holding his hand. So it's there are lots of ways, like positive ways, that we can deal with and cope with and survive this incredible traumatic grief. I wish that nobody had to experience. I really do. And I also feel like it's such a unique grief, that like the shock, and then the questioning, and then the self-blame. It's right up there with a loved one being murdered, or like, a very shock. I mean, there's no great way to lose someone, let's face it, but there's so much stigma. There's so much the really sad thing is that people don't know what to say to you, so they say nothing at all. And I remember after I lost my brother, like my two best friends took me out for lunch, and they said, well, it's been 2 weeks now, so you need to get over it. Yeah. So
What?
yeah, funnily enough, we don't hang out anymore. But
It's,
then people out of the woodwork, random people that I wouldn't have expected were incredible and supportive. It's just, you just don't know. So yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with that, and that's something that I think I asked some of our followers how they would like to be supported as well, because it's just not. It's I think people who've not experienced grief or don't understand the impact of suicide really don't know what to say, and sometimes it is a case of just asking people direct, like, how can I support you? How can I
Mm,
help you? What would work for you right now in the season that you're in? And understanding that they're going to have multiple different seasons of where they go through how many stages of grief. So, and it's really helping people to understand that as well, and to have
definitely.
more empathy. um,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
like that. I like the idea of, I mean, sometimes people don't know.
yeah,
And, and another question can be really overwhelming. But what I've learned over the years is that I was waiting. I didn't know. I'd never been bereaved by suicide before. So how would I know what I need? But people just show up and listen. And now when it's my brother's anniversary, I say, look, I want to talk about him. I
yes,
want to share pictures. So let's have like an Ed Fest.
I love that.
Yeah, sit. Just listen to me.
Yeah,
I want to share good memories and happy times.
I love that Edfest.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Really,
it's a nice idea.
it is. It's just something simple, and it's nice that it doesn't have to be about remembering sad times. It's like, I want to remember this person because they're still here with me, and they're with me every day. But I want to remember those key moments, those core memories about them. That,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, we can't forget that I'm 18 years down the road. These are lovely ideas, but for someone like in the first 2 years, I'd say they're still really in shock.
yeah,
But and sometimes I forget that, like even in group,
mm,
and you are just in survival mode, and it's just literally getting through day by day. But the group is incredibly beautiful. It's really supportive. No one's ever had a crossword with each other. We hold the group really well. We're obviously very experienced now, and we meditate together, and I set homework, and you know, we'll acknowledge milestones and share pictures, and it's just, yeah, it's. I wish it didn't have to exist, but
yeah,
I'm glad that it does.
yeah. That space is there for anyone should they need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about the Lewisham Group, especially in the office. I think people do rant and rave about the Lewisham Group, saying it's amazing. So
Oh,
yeah, it's really nice to hear. And obviously, I used to live in London. I didn't even know there was even a group for um for survivors of bereavement. So I can't wait to just like spread the word even more because so many people don't even know about it. Um,
mm.
but yeah, no, I think the work that you're doing is incredible. I think the last question I do have for you is challenges faced. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced while supporting others through their grief, and how have you overcome them? Obviously, I know you kind of mentioned that already, slightly, but in terms of like, has there ever been any challenges where, like you said, because you are, is it 18 years into
Mm.
your process, have you found it challenging when you've got someone who's at the beginning, someone who's in the middle, someone who's further along, and they've all got different perspectives? How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And like I said, we're doing this for like 5 years. It's tricky when there's a sibling, particularly a brother loss, and I can see someone is in so much pain. I feel that viscerally, and it is hard. I mean, one incident sticks out particularly to me because I'm a mother as well. I've got a daughter who's 11 and a half. There was a mum. She still comes to the group. I adore her. She's lovely. She'd only lost her son a couple of weeks before, and you could hear how much she adored him. And I don't know a single human being that wouldn't have been touched by what she said. She was so articulate. But like to describe, I didn't even know there were words that just could describe love. of a son and the loss. Yeah, and it's hard. And if you're having a difficult time yourself, I mean, I've worked in mental health for a long time, and I as a group therapist. So it's it's hard, but it's about support. So the women that I run the group with, my two other volunteers are just incredible, and they'll listen to me and they'll hold space, and we take it in turns to offload and talk. When they're struggling, I do the same for them. So it really is down to, it's almost like peer supervision.
Yeah.
And obviously I have a therapist. Yeah, and then I have to take my own advice. I need to start thinking about what I enjoyed as a child. So it's just being out in nature, and that comes up a lot actually. That was very healing for me, and it's all back to community, right, and peer support.
Yeah, definitely. I also wanted to ask, going completely off script, what's the question I had? I wanted to ask, if somebody is thinking about becoming a volunteer and is at the stage that you were at when you first became a volunteer, what advice would you give to them, or what would you tell yourself back then that you kind of know now, in a sense? Would there be anything that you'd kind of give yourself to just say, look, okay, prepare for this, or you're ready for it, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I mean, I won't lie to you, I was a mess. It was a real process for me starting the group, and I was scared. I mean, I was concerned about re-stimulating trauma, and I was concerned about being able to hold the space. And my friends and my family were like, "Don't do it. You're nuts." And I was studying psychotherapy as well, so and having EMDR, so probably doing the three at the same time might have been a bit. And this is not going to be everyone's story. Everyone's story is so unique. Advice to give. I think it's a really beautiful thing. It's frightening at first, but then you realise that it's just so important. And look, not everyone's a talker, right? Not everyone wants to talk. Groups aren't for everybody, and it's peer led. It's not it's therapeutic, but it's not therapy. The advice I would give is to, perhaps talk about it in therapy and talk it through with friends and family, and to think about your motivating factors and try it. Why not?
One thing I wanted to go back over was, what I do love about your support group is how you speak about the volunteers and just the people that support you as well. So it's almost like you've got your armor bearers. You're all kind of looking after each other, which is really, really nice, and it definitely shows the community that you have. It's like a village. It's not just about one person, and like you said, you were so scared going into this, but look at what's come out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's incredible, just the help. And like you said, it's really sad that you have to have this group, but look what it's doing. The lives that you're changing, you're creating a book, all of that is being turned into something that is literally going to change more lives. If you ever do have your own podcast, or you ever do go on a TED Talk, please let me know. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's, I'm getting to know every volunteer and what they do, and just hearing about your story about your brother Ed, I feel touched just by hearing your story. And thank you so much just for taking the time out to speak to me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me, Taylor. Good luck with all the rest of the interviews. I hope they go well.
That's it from us. I hope this helps someone out there, and that's the end of our interview.